Alright, so we are back for another Dokkan battle video, and in today's video we are going to be looking at the EZA for the Physical Beerus. Now, Physical Beerus is really good with his EZA. I'll just get that out of the way first thing. They pretty much gave him exactly what he needed. He's got a lot of damage reduction built into his kit, and then they upped his stats. I mean, the damage reduction was good enough. You guys know with units now, damage reduction, guard, dodge, one of those capabilities makes most units very valuable in events. And of course, like I said, he does have damage reduction. And I think in his best situation, he's getting up to like 70% damage reduction. And then also he's stacking attack. He's got a really good active skill. So a really good unit overall. So if you do have him in your box, maybe he's not awakened or he doesn't have any super attack levels or anything like that, I do highly recommend you grind this guy up because, like I said, he's very useful. And especially because of his teams, like his teams suck. He's on some really, really weak categories. Exploding Rage, Siblings Bond, Worthy Rivals, Legendary Existence, Planetary Destruction are all really bad. And even movie bosses. You'd think this category would be a lot better because all the movie buffs we've had recently, but no, not really. It kind of sucks. I mean, I could see this being really good. Maybe if we get like a new Super Broly or, an LRZ Broly or something like that soon. But for now, definitely not the best category, and this guy buffing it is definitely very useful. All right, so this is the rotation we got for him. We got him linked next to the STR, Beerus, and Whis. I think they're pretty much his best linking partner. You can see 6 out of 7 links. Yeah, I don't think there's another good linking partner for him. I mean, there's just not enough Beeruses in the game. I think there's literally these two, the Beerus and Whis, and then the Physical Beerus. And then, I mean, maybe like the AGL World Tournament Beerus, but there's not that many Beeruses in the game. That's what I'm trying to say. So this is the rotation you're probably going to be running with this guy most of the time. He's sitting here at 220k defense. All right, so that's not that good. I mean, we'll just get that out of the way first thing. He also does not get defense on Super. That's one thing you're going to want to keep in mind with this guy. They definitely should have done that with his EZA. I wish he at least got like 30% defense for one turn on his super attack effect, but it's not that big of a deal because, like I said, he does have a lot of damage reduction, which we'll get into now. So starting off with his super attack effect, he's stacking attack and then causes immense damage to enemy and then greatly lowers attack and defense. So you can see right there the little attack down and defense down status, and the KO screen looks amazing. Sorry, I had to point that out. It's a really nice KO screen. But yeah, lowering attack and defense, really useful in events like Super Battle Road, or really anywhere where you can get it off, but the only events you can actually get that off is Super Battle Road and Extreme Super Battle Road. I wouldn't really say this is a Super Battle Road unit, but if you're forced to put him in there, maybe you don't have a Realm of Gods or Exploding Rage lead, and this guy is leading Exploding Rage and then Realm of Gods, so you got to run him as the leader skill. You could probably make it work, but keep in mind, this guy is designed for like normal content where you're facing only one enemy or something like that. But that's not to say he'd be horrible for Super Battle Road. So then this guy does get 50% attack start of turn and then 200% defense. So 200% defense for an EZA TUR is definitely really good. Obviously, his stats are pretty good. They're not insane because he's not like an LR or anything. But again, EZA TUR. So definitely pretty reasonable start of turn defense buff. And then he gets an extra 150% attack on super. So that's pretty good. I mean, his damage will be all right. It's not insane. After you receive an attack, his damage can look pretty impressive. But without the extra 150% attack and defense from receiving an attack, his damage is all right. It doesn't get crazy. His damage only really starts to get crazy once you consider, like, he's super effective against all types, his active skill, and all that. But then this guy does also reduce damage received by 40% with 3 or more key spheres obtained, and then he reduces damage received by another 30% before attacking with 7 or more key spheres obtained. So in his prime rotation, you're going to have 70% damage reduction. That's pretty good, but keep in mind, you got to get a lot of key spheres with that. Yeah, if you have a rotation like this, I mean, look, we're going to get 2 key spheres. We can't even get a super attack with the guy. Then it's going to be pretty difficult with him, and you're going to be missing out on a lot of defensive capabilities, more specifically, 70% damage reduction. I guess, yeah, I mean, we could do this. We could just see how much damage his normal does. It's not that big of a deal, but whatever. Yeah, unfortunately, key is just not in our favor here. I mean, yeah, he is orb changing, but I don't know. The condition behind it isn't that great. So he randomly changes key spheres of a certain type to rainbow key spheres, and then gets attacks effective against all types when there's a Realm of Gods category enemy. I guess with the latest Worldwide Download celebration, with all the Zamasus and Goku Blacks, like in difficult events that we have now, that's not horrible, because in a couple difficult events I can think of, like Dismal Future Red Zone, and the Divine Wrath and Mortal Will event, there's a lot of Realm of Gods enemies. So in like those events, I guess he'll be pretty useful because he's orb changing, or he's rainbow orb changing to be more specific, and then also is super effective against all types. But I don't know. In most content, I don't think he's going to be insanely useful. like, in a couple months, when we get more difficult content, most of them, there's probably not going to be a Realm of Gods category enemy. Oh, I guess it's possible, actually, if we get, like, a Gogeta Blue. Obviously, he's on Realm of Gods. If we get that for, like, 9th year anniversary alongside, like, a Broly, and we get a difficult event facing that Gogeta Blue, I mean, I guess he could be pretty useful in there. But I feel like that's definitely very specific, and I wish it was a little bit more of a loose condition. Maybe you get it when facing, like, a Pure Saiyan, because obviously he's facing God Goku in the fight, so it would make sense if it was, like, you know, Pure Saiyan, or like a Goku family category enemy or something, even though that would still be kind of bad right now, but eventually, you know, we'd get super class red zone stages, and a lot of those enemies would be on the Goku family category. So, I don't know, I'm not a big fan of the condition, especially considering how serious this guy needs key spheres, so then, you know, the orb changing, the rainbow orb changing, being locked behind a Realm of Gods category enemy can be kind of difficult, but then, if you get a rotation like this, so this is good, this is good. We got 7 key spheres, so that means we're going to have 70% damage reduction before we attack, and then after we attack, it does go down to 40%, but then after we attack, you also have to keep in mind, we're going to have that 150% stats after we receive an attack. So we're here at 270k defense, so it's going to double and then some, because we get 150% attack and defense after we receive an attack. So then, more specifically, it's going to be at, like, what, 700k defense? So 700k defense, we'll just say, with 70% damage reduction before we attack, and then 40% after we attack, and we still have that active skill coming up soon, which we'll talk about that in a second. That's not bad, and obviously, like I said, he's stacking attack, you know, greatly lowering attack and defense. So between all that, I would say he's looking pretty good here. We're going to kill before we get to, like, take an attack, so we're not going to see the extra 150% attack and defense actually, like, calculated in his super attack right here, so keep that in mind. So this might look a little low, but yeah, 8.6. Honestly, that's not horrible, because with an extra 150% to stats, he would be well over 10 million. I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. This guy isn't bad. He's going to be pretty useful. I think maybe if you run him type disadvantage, you're going to have to be really careful with this guy. Type neutral, you're still going to have to be careful with him, to be honest. But, I mean, you could probably get away with it. But then type advantage in any difficult event, he's going to be fine, because with that little bit of damage reduction, then obviously that's going to be very useful. And then with, like, the orb changing, if you get that activated with the active skill, he can just be a really good asset to the team, especially because, like I said, he's on some really weak teams. I mean, if you're running, what, Worthy Rivals, I guess that might work, but that category sucks. I mean, I know there's a couple good units, but this guy's one of the best options on that category. I mean, I guess there's, like, Orange Piccolo, and then, like, the EZA Physical Piccolo, but other than them, you're probably going to run this Physical Beerus on there also, and then obviously he's going to be one of the best units on that category, just because these categories suck. I mean, Dokkan, you know how they handle their categories. They're very bad. There's a lot of really just shitty, weak teams in the game right now, because they just like to buff the main few categories, you know, Pure Saiyans, Bond of Parent and Child, Super Saiyans, you know, stuff like that. So then stuff like Siblings Bond, Movie Bosses, Exploding Rage, Planetary Destruction, it doesn't really see that much love in the game, so then that's why this guy's teams right now aren't really that good, which is both good and bad. It's a good thing, because then this guy's buffing some really weak teams, but then it's also a bad thing, because this is his best rotation right here, like having him linked up next to the LR Beerus and Whis. And LR Beerus and Whis are not bad by any means, but is this a really good rotation? I don't know. You know, they're not necessarily a slot 1 unit. I know Beerus is kind of a slot 1 unit, but I don't know if he's amazing for slot 1. I mean, he could be pretty useful with that 70% damage reduction, but as we've said, he does have some key issues. But anyway, this is going to be a really good turn for him right here. We are facing a Realm of Gods category enemy now, because Vegeta is in Super Saiyan God. So we're super effective against all types. We're going to receive an attack before we get our super off, so that 150% attack and defense is going to be applied right here. And also, we got a lot of key spheres. So, good rotation for him right here. We're at 220k defense. We don't have any support. Let's see how good he's looking. So, yeah, we're probably just going to one-shot him, because we've got type advantage. I mean, he was pushing 10 million without the 150% the stats. Okay, yeah, so now he's at like 12 million. Yeah, obviously that's very good. And then what, we're at, I think, 700k defense again, and we had that 40% damage reduction. Or no, we had the 70%, now it's 40%. So yeah, pretty good. I mean, you guys can see, he's a good unit. They definitely could have made him better, but considering how Dokkan likes to handle EZAs, I think we should just be happy he's not insanely mid. I mean, look at, you know, STR Jaren, look at Int Transforming Goku Black. I'll take it, right? He's good enough, especially for a lot of these weak teams. Because if it's not like a Pure Saiyans unit, I mean, Dokkan will just fumble them, let's be honest. Or they'll do something in their kit that makes them really wonky. Honestly, even pure sand units, or like really hype units, they'll still fumble their EZAs. But yeah, this guy's good. He's good enough. And I think, again, definitely something to look forward to. So we're here on turn 8 in the Legendary Vegeta event. We can just go in and cut to a difficult event test. No reason to keep on showing him in here. He doesn't build up or anything. We didn't get the active skill off, but you do have to be below a certain HP threshold to get that. And it's going to be kind of difficult to get it in here because, of course, Legendary Vegeta event doesn't really hit that hard. So we're going to go for the active skill in the difficult event test. So let's go ahead and cut to that. Alright, so we're here fighting stage 8 of the Shadow Dragon event versus Omega Shenron. Now, actually, this is going to be dropping on Global within the next couple weeks, so keep that in mind. This is definitely a fun event. It's pretty difficult. I'm not sure if it's the hardest fight in the game anymore. I think that might have changed after the latest Worldwide Download celebration, but like I said, it's definitely pretty difficult with Omega doing his AoEs. I mean, you guys know how AoEs are, just insanely tedious, but we got a good turn for Beerus right here. We have his active skill. He does get some stats when you use his active skill as well, so it's definitely something you're going to want to make sure you do when you get the opportunity to do it, or maybe push it off until like the final phase of a fight when maybe he's not going to be able to tank as well, so then you get the one turn of him like looking really impressive, because he does get 50% attack and defense, and then attacks effective against all types for one turn. So definitely very good. Let me make sure I have the skip off, and let's play this. Alright, so with the 50% to stats, we jump up to almost 400k defense. Alright, so almost 400k defense, and we are going to receive an attack before we super, so we're going to have the 150% stats from that. So we're going to be nearly at 1,000,000 defense. We did get 3 key spheres, so we have 30% damage reduction, but we do not have the extra 40%, so unfortunately, we're not going to look that crazy. Okay, never mind, we are going to look that crazy, 23 million. Goddamn, alright, that's a lot of damage, almost 20 million with that crit as well. Are we tanking the super? I'm pretty sure we are. We did lose all the damage reduction, so keep in mind, this is like the worst scenario for him. He has no damage reduction. 97k. That's actually not that bad. We did have damage reduction, by the way. Sorry, we had 40%, but we didn't have the extra 30% damage reduction. But that goes away after, like, you attack anyway. So, pretty good. Honestly, I mean, if that doesn't tell you this guy's really useful, I don't know what will. Like, as long as you're running this guy type advantage, he's going to be amazing in these difficult events. Type neutral, type disadvantage, you start to run into issues. Maybe super attacks are going to do, you know, a little bit more than 100k damage. But if you make sure he has type advantage, which I can think of multiple difficult events where there's an enemy, then he's going to be very useful. So definitely really good in here. I'm really impressed overall. But the condition to get his active skill, it can be kind of tricky. So I just want to reiterate it. I think I already mentioned it earlier, but we'll go over it before we end the video. So it can be activated when HP is 70% or less, starting from the 4th turn from start of battle. A turn restriction and an HP restriction is a little tricky, but I think in most situations you'll probably be able to get it like towards the end of the fight, and then, you know, once you use it, obviously you're going to look really crazy. Now keep in mind, he only gets the 50% attack and defense and attacks effective against all types for one turn, and also he has his attacks guaranteed to hit. Not that that really matters, but I guess it's a nice addition. But he only has that for one turn. So then the next turn we have him, you know, he's not going to be doing 20 million damage with over 1,000,000 defense and damage reduction. But for that being his peak, it definitely is worth bringing him to then maybe have a turn like that with him. And it's not like without his active skill, he's going to be completely useless. Like we saw earlier, he's still almost at 1,000,000 defense. And in some situations, you can be at 70% damage reduction before you attack. And then if you get the 3 key spheres, you can be at 40% once you're done attacking. So definitely a really useful unit. Like I said, I think he is definitely worth looking forward to, and definitely someone you're going to want to make sure you grind up if you don't have him awakened or with super attack levels or anything like that, because overall this guy is really good. So I guess that pretty much has been the video. Let me know what you guys are thinking of Physical Beerus' EZA down in the comments, and let me know if you would have changed anything with his EZA, because I know there is a couple flaws in his kit. Like I said, the orb changing, being restricted to a Realm of Gods category enemy, is definitely a little tricky, but other than that, I think they handled the EZA very well. So once again, that has been the video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.